All right. Should be good to go. I believe, yep, both platforms are running. Both platforms are live. So, should be good to go. We should have the close here. Should have just closed now. So, we'll be going over the market, talking about today's plays and what to expect for Monday. Let's get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for September 24th, 2021. Q is basically flat on the day here. SPY up 0.18, and then IWM pulling back 0.5% today. Okay, coming into today, we expected pullbacks on the IWM to be buyable. Qs and SPY a little bit more neutral on once we take out yesterday's high. Then we are back to bullish on the Q SPY. And then the only scenario where we would be bearish would be if we got a pivot and then we broke underneath the pivot. Okay, so we tried to do a higher low and then we failed. So we got a bit of that. Now, it doesn't mean we get to be bearish yet, because really all it does is show us where the new support is, okay, which is going to be today's low after the gap down. Okay, so that makes it easier for us on Monday. As you know, we came into this week bearish, and then at the end of the day on Monday, we got to the support, we got the bounce, and after that I was saying, okay, the most difficult scenario is if we rally back strong. I was kind of saying, in the next day or two, we ended up doing over 3 days. Well, we rally back strong and close the gap. Well, I guess like 2.5. Okay, and so it was the last couple of days, I thought, pretty tricky as far as bias in the market. So I was just kind of staying neutral until we have some cleaner patterns, some better reference points. So now we do. Okay, so today's low, it marks the higher low here and where support should hold. And then if we take out today's high, of course, just resuming the hourly uptrend. Okay, and that goes for the Qs and the SPY. And then the IWM got the pullback today, got a little bit of the bounce. If we break underneath today's low, a little bit more neutral on the IWM just because of what it did on the daily. Okay, now if we get the failure underneath today's low and the failure of the hourly buy setup, that'll also be a daily sell setup for the Qs and SPY, like we talked about yesterday, right? So a series of higher lows. We looked at a sell setup yesterday on the ATUS as well as an example. Right, so underneath today's low, that'll trigger a daily sell setup, so we can actually resume the bearish bias. Seems unlikely given the hourly uptrend, but it's good. We got a little bit of a reference point. We got some follow through to the bounce, so we're gonna go with that for Monday. All right, let's get into today's plays. I thought today's charts were a little bit on the sloppy side, and not necessarily the easiest, and some things had a little bit of spread. But overall, I think if you didn't let it kind of shake you too much, and you didn't waver too much and stuck with kind of the execution of things, turned out okay. Okay, so let's go over the first play. Here was the Nike. I like this gap down quite a bit. Gap down after multiple bars up like that. A little bit of void there to the left, although minor support not too far below. Okay, so this opened late on the Nike. I'll show you the first bar here. So when you get a bar like this, there's like no volume, that it's not open. So you want to be careful about that sometimes, because sometimes you can set up numbers for a play, and that first bar might be a little bit misleading to actually how the stock is going to trade. So just know that when you're looking at the 1 minute chart here, the first bar's volume should always be bigger than the last ending bar. Almost always. I'm sure there's exceptions. Typically, if I see a bar like this where it doesn't seem like there's any volume, this here says 10,000, but I'm pretty sure this wasn't open. Okay, because relative to what it closed with, usually once things open, they should look like that, right? That goes to 588,000, right? So this opened late, so I just defaulted to a 2 minute high low, and which ended up being really just that bar's high low, and so. Because of where I got filled, this ended up being over $1.50 on the size of the stop. So a big stop for this. Don't really like that too much, but it was my favorite gap, so I was gonna play it, anyway. And you can see here that there were a couple times where it looked weak, and it just was having trouble following through. given the large stop, I wanted to add, but just the sloppiness of it kept me from adding. So I ended up, living through all of this, okay, struggling a little bit to get going. All right, and then finally, I think I was on the mic as well, that we got this like decent downtrend on the 2 minute, but it also just was showing having such a hard time. Like even here, you would think, okay, finally that's a nice base below a base. We're gonna get going, and it was just definitely going back and forth a lot. So I think here I decided, all right, we're up. It was like an hour and a half. I'm gonna go ahead and take half, trail the other half to the hourly, and then there was the hourly over that bar. So that's a pretty okay trail. It's pretty typical. I reference the hourly trail on plays if they're underway quite often. It's the way that I like to manage the runners. And so that was a fine trail. It wasn't a big play at all on the Nike, partly because of the big stop, partly because it was having trouble really following through. So that was the Nike. Next was the PRGS. PRGS did have to play this twice on the PRGS. So the first play was this 5-minute base breakout here on the PRGS. What made this one especially tricky, and you can see the sloppiness here. Some of these bars, don't open where the previous bar closed. That right there is telling you we got some spread on this. And when this was 20 to 30 cent spread sometimes. And then got shaken out right here. Now, when you get shaken out, or when you're suspicious, because you don't know for sure until it's too late whether you got shaken out, right? So if you're concerned that maybe you got shaken out, look at the volume that got picked up there. Another kind of a little warning sign, though. Maybe it was a shakeout. What usually happens, what will be, it goes, shakes you out, puts in an inside bar, and then goes right back up. So, nobody likes getting shaken out of stuff, much less doing it, when everybody else is watching, like it happened to me while I was on the mic. But I said, this is pretty much textbook for something that needs to be replayed. Fine, you get kicked out by a little bit, okay, puts in an inside bar, and I said, over the inside bar, I'm going to have to replay, okay? And then I got filled at like 60, so it was supposed to be over 41. I got filled at like 66, but that's just the nature of this thing, 20 to 30 cent spread, okay? Now, why would I be willing to play this twice, right? So I'm obviously introducing the possibility I lose twice on it by replaying it, right? And that's because I really like the gap. Look at this gap on the PRGS, right? That's why I played it the first time. That's why I was willing to play it again. Now, if it didn't work the second time, I'm not going to play it a third time. That's just the rule that I have. If I lose on something twice, then I'm done with it. It just means that, I'm not reading it right today, or, it's just too tricky for me today, whatever. It has my number. It just, twice, that's it. So I'm not going to play anything more than twice, okay? But it ended up being about 85 cent stop, triggered over this bar here, okay? And looking for about 2 hours. Got to 2 hours right about here, okay? Now, if you had decided you want to hold it because it's cleared of all of that, and you want to do hourly bar by bar, it trails under this, 52.96. And you still make an hour and a half, so that's not too bad. So, 1.5, whatever you risk. So, but it did get to 2 hours and a little bit beyond, but this thing was definitely hard to manage, so that's why I went, with a 2 hour all or nothing approach. I really wanted to be in this as long as it was uptrending. And so, that was good on the replay. A lot of this stuff, it's easy, even if you know it, okay, that looks like a shakeout bar. Even if you know it, sometimes, in real time, and I'm still waiting on the Nike, I'm trying to scan for other stuff, sometimes you think, well, it's just too sloppy, it's too spready, I don't want to play it. But, with that kind of gap, I just felt like I had to play it again, okay? So this is the kind of thing. If it was a lower quality gap, I wouldn't play it. The spread never exceeded 50% of the stop. So it also didn't, wasn't going to not play it because of the spread, although who likes playing something with spread, right? All right, so that was the PRGS. And then the thing that I missed was the FL. I didn't really like the gap that much initially. In the morning, it was around 50-50, I think, was more where the gap was. And then by the open, it increased more. So this one kind of just slid by me. I missed this first breakdown, and then I put it on a chart, and then I missed the next breakdown too. So I had it kind of just far away and just, didn't really see it. So this was kind of, yeah, just a miss on my part. So yeah, just wasn't really expecting to get too involved with EFL. It did show up and have some nice patterns. This breakdown here, I know, goes over 2 Rs there. So that was a good play to have. Good play there. So yeah, should have been played. Just kind of missed on that. But I'm glad the Nike and the PRGS turned out okay. Okay. So, overall, I thought today, this kind of stuff is like kind of normal, everyday kind of stuff. Maybe, Nike you could say is disappointing because it didn't get to a bigger target based on where it was on the daily. PRGS was annoying because I had to replay. And then FL, missed out on. But, there's always the other side to it too. Nike worked. That was a winning play. PRGS on the replay more than doubled, what I lost on the first play. So, that's positive too. And then the FL worked nicely. That was, a good setup. So the setups are there also. Even if you, take advantage, you never want to have a day where you say, okay, I passed on everything and nothing worked. It doesn't make it very, promising for the next day. And if that's the case, then you have to kind of look back at kind of what your strategy and your plays are, and maybe that's where the issue lies. So, on all these things, it's kind of really could be good, could be bad, depending on the way you looked at it. But, overall, a couple decent winners, and that's just, how it is sometimes. Yeah. All right. So those were the plays from today. Like I said, nothing like too outstanding or, too exceptional. Pretty kind of standard stuff. Just a kind of standard trading day. Okay, to end off the week. So I hope you did well today. We will be back at it on Monday. Really leaning more bullish here on the Qs and SPY. Hard not to with the hourly uptrend. And then if we break below today's low, we will be triggering a sell setup on the Qs and SPY, so that's where we'll switch to the bearish bias. Otherwise, anything kind of above today's low, gonna be sticking with the bullish bias. All right, that's it. Hope you guys did well this week. We'll be back at it on Monday. Have a great weekend.